Hello viewers, welcome to this channel. Today we are looking at JUPEB Economics past questions. Please settle down and come along with me. Let's start with this. Which of the following is constant on the typical indifference curve? In our previous session when we discussed NECO or WAEC, we discussed indifference curve. And we said it has to do with combination of production of two items at the same time with given resources. All right? So the more of one you do, the less of the other, and vice versa. All right? So which of these is always constant? Eventually, whether you do for one or do for the other, there will always be a total utility. Okay? So which one is constant? Average utility, marginal utility, fixed utility, total utility. The correct option for this question is D, total utility. All right? The next question. In economics, the mathematical expressions between two or more variables is known as equality, identity, equation, variables. The correct answer here is equation, or you call it function. Equation or function. So option C is correct. Equation or function. All right, let's move to the next question. A perfect inelastic supply is A, straight vertical. Before you go on, when you say perfect inelastic supply, means that the changes in price may not actually affect the quantity supplied, right? Okay, inelastic does not change. That's the meaning. A straight vertical line, a straight horizontal line, an upward sloping line, a downward sloping line. The answer is a straight vertical line like this. All right? So the option correct here is option A. Let's see the next question. What is public good? What is a public good? A public good is a good that's available to all, to everybody in a society. Are you with me? All of us can consume it. So let's see which of them, of this option, properly interpret a public good. A good whose consumption by one individual does not reduce the amount available for others. Okay? B, a good whose consumption by one individual reduces. This is opposite. B is opposite of A. Okay? C, a good in which it is impossible for two persons to consume it together at the same time. Remember I said it's available for all. So C could not be correct. D, a good in which price is the main determinant of its consumption. Not so, because it's a public good for all. All right? So the most correct answer that interpreted what a public good is from here is option A. All right? The consumption of that good by one person does not in any way reduce the amount available for others to enjoy. A is the most correct answer. All right, the next question. Which of the following is most likely to have inverse relationship? Inverse. When we say inverse, inverse means opposite. Remember, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded for the law of demand. That's what they call inverse. Huh? When you say the higher the price, the greater the quantity supplied. That's what they call directly proportional. All right? So here we're talking about inverse, opposite. Huh? Who is most likely opposite? Let's see. Price and quantity supplied. I just show you now from the law of supply. The higher the price, the greater the quantity supplied. So, and vice versa. So this is not inverse. This is direct, right? So A could not be correct. Income and quantity consumed. The income and quantity consumed also goes along this way. How? The more you earn income, the more you are likely going to what? Consume, demand. Are you with me? So it's also direct. More money, more expenses, more spending. All right? Direct, not inverse. Taxes and quantity bought. How do I mean? When government increase the tax, especially direct tax, the implication is that you have low disposable income. You have low income to be disposed for consumption. All right? So when tax increases, what happens? Your income reduces. Huh? Are you with me at all? So you won't be able to buy as much quantity as you would like to buy. Okay? Also depends on the direction of the tax anyway. But if the tax is reduced in any way, then you see people buying more. Buying more. That's inverse. Inverse. Huh? The less disposable income, you may buy more if you have more money in your hand. If tax reduced, you have more money in your hand. And with more money called disposable income, you may need to buy more items if possible. All right? Taste and quantity demand. Of course, when you have better taste for a particular product, what happens? The higher your taste for that product, the more you buy. So if you look at A, B, C, they are directly proportional. But C is what? Indirect proportional. Indirectly proportional. So the correct answer for this question is option C, indirect proportional. That's inverse, opposite. Number 6, the next question. When an increase in the price of steel causes an increase in production of cars, then supply is, what do you call this type of this? We derive car from steel. So when steel becomes expensive, cars will also become very expensive because steel seems is the raw material for what? For car. So is it a complementary? No, they are not. Complementary means joint. They are not jointly demanded. No. Is it a composite? No. Competitive? No, they are not competing themselves. It's a derived demand because we got cars from the steel. So when the price of steel is up, of course, the cost of producing car will also go up. So the correct answer for this is derived supply. Derived supply. That's derived supply. Okay. The next question. A good whose consumer purchases more as its price decline can be described as, in other words, as the price decline, lower the price, the consumer buy more, right? Quantity demanded. This is just simple law of demand. The higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, and the lower the price, the greater the quantity demanded. So this is simple law of demand. And this happens to any good, just any good. So inferior good, given good, ostentatious good, normal good. The correct answer here is what? Normal good. Any normal good will obey this law. Any normal good. But an ostentatious goods does not obey this law. Why? The higher the price, the greater the quantity consumed or bought. Why? People assume that the more expensive that product is, the more value it has. And that's what we call it luxurious goods. Okay? So the correct answer to this question is option D, normal good. Let's see the next question, please. A firm declares normal profits of 400 if the owner invests 5,000 and interest rate on bond is 10%. This means that the firm, let's look at it. Okay, in a normal profit, it makes 400 naira. All right? But now he invested his 5K in investment on bond, and that bond brought 10%. So what is 10% of this 5,000? Let's see. 10 over 100 times 5,000. All right? This goes. So 10 times 50, that's 500. In other words, when he invested in bonds, it's making 500 naira. But when he did normal business transaction, he made 400 naira. Which one is he making more profit? He's making more profit in bonds. So what advice will you give to this businessman, this owner of this firm? What advice will you give to such person? If it is bond, that's 500 naira. If it's normal business, that's 400 naira. Let's see. The firm should continue to produce and invest in bonds. B, should discontinue production and invest in bonds. Is making economic profit and investing in bonds. Is a sole trader who invests in bond. This has nothing to do with this question. Let's see the elimination method now. Should continue to produce and also invest in bonds. Why? It will make 400 here, I make 500 here. Should discontinue production. If we discontinue production, the 400 is gone. And only 500 will come to the business. Remember, 400 here, 500 here, altogether, how much is he making? 900. We are not told the duration of the time, whether it's per day or per month or per year. We are not told. But eventually, it's making 900. So if option B says you should stop production, then it will lose the 400 it's making and invest, continue to make only what? 500. Are you with me? Lesser than what he's making before. It's making economic profit and investing in bond. I think the most correct answer should be A. Should continue to produce, making his 400 naira, and also what? Continue to invest in the bonds. Because if you stop production, you will lose 400 and make only 500. All right? That's the correct answer there. Okay, let's see the next question. Hope you're enjoying this session. Please subscribe to this channel to get more. In calculating cross-price elasticity of demand, which of this statement is true? Please take notes. When you talk about cross-price elasticity of demand, we are saying that there's a percentage change in a particular quantity of a product A, and we are combining a percentage change in the price of product B. That's alternate. It's crossing. You are crossing of A and B. So you consider the quantity of A and the price of B, how they're interrelated, how they affected each other. Okay? In calculating this cross price elasticity of demand, which of these statements is true? The latter involves two commodities. The latter, okay, while the former is one commodity. The former involves two commodities, while the latter is what's an opposite. The latter requires income of the consumer, while the former does not. The former, which is the commodity B, requires income, while the latter does not. Okay, the latter is the one that comes first, A. What we don't need the price of A. What we need just the quantity demanded. What we need here is the price of B. How the price of B affects the quantity of what? Of A. So the former means the one that comes, the one before requires income, while the latter is. The latter requires income, while the consumer, while the former does not. So the answer here, based on this formula, is option C. The latter requires income. What is income? Here, letter Y here. Because your income will determine the price. So the latter requires income of the consumer, while the former does not. What do you require for the former? The former means the one that comes first. We only require the quantity demand, A. So the former is A in this case, while the latter is what? Is B in this case. Income and quantity. The option is C. Let's go on to the next question. In practice, government usually levy taxes on in A, merit goods, B, social goods, C, private goods, and D, demerit goods. Now, the answer here is demerit. When we say demerit goods, some people will call it sin tax. Sin tax. In other words, tax for committing sin. The demerit goods are like tobacco, okay, like alcohol, okay, like sugary drinks. They are all demerit goods. So as a way of discouraging the people, the citizen, from consuming them, a special tax is placed on these goods. You understand? Like you see when they do advertisement for tobacco, they said smokers are liable to die young. But here people still smoke. You understand? Some people in alcohol, they will write it there, drink with sense, or not for underage, somebody below 18 years, and all this kind of things. So demerit goods are also known as goods that the government is trying to discourage people from consuming it. All right? So they place tax on it. That tax, when you get to an institution, they call it sin tax. Sin tax. Look at someone who committed sin. Abi? All right? So the correct option for this question is demerit goods. Okay? Let's see this question. I love this picture, depicting the question. Bread and water are said to be jointly demanded. So the water here just replaced tea. I know in your mind, you'll be thinking of tea, bread and tea, okay? Very well. Or somebody will think bread and egg, okay? All right? So, but let's look at the question. Bread and tea are said to be jointly demanded. Of course, yes. If the increase in price of bread, the increase in price, I don't know whether this issue there, the increase in price of bread makes what? In other words, when the price of bread increases, what happens? Remember that jointly demanded, okay? They go together. So when the price of one goes up, what happened to higher price? There will be lesser demand, right? For it. So if there's lesser demand for the one that the price goes up, what happens to the alternate? There also be what? Lesser demand. Let's see. The quantity demand for water will rise. How can it rise? Because they are jointly demanded. If the demand for bread goes down, demand for water will also go down. Quantity demanded for water falls. Price of water rise. Price of water to fall. The correct answer is quantity demand for bread will fall. For water, will fall. Why? The price of bread has gone up. So less of bread will be demanded. And because they are jointly demanded, since less of bread are demanded, less of water will be demanded. You can see now, somebody was talking yesterday with me. He said price of bread has gone up. People are no longer buying bread like before. So if people are no longer buying bread like before, people will no longer also be demanding for tea like before, because bread and tea should go together. But here's bread and water. So the demand for water will also fall. That is option B is the most correct answer. Let's see the next question. I hope you're enjoying this session. Please subscribe to this channel. I love this question. All Chinese are racist. That's a statement. It wasn't me. JUPEB said that. Dr. Young is a Chinese and therefore is a racist. It's just semantics. Simple semantics. All right? This statement is A, inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning, positive statement, normative statement. What is the correct answer here? This is deductive. How do I deductive? This is relational. This is a statement made. All Chinese, not some Chinese, all Chinese are racist. So whether it's Dr. Young or Mrs. Jung, what matters is as long as you're Chinese, you are what? You are racist. Deducted from the statement that was made right from here. Okay? So the correct answer is a deductive. We are deducting that from the first statement. This second, Young may not be racist, but as long as a Chinese, and the first statement says, then so deducting from this place is what? Is racist. Deductive reasoning. Okay? Let's see the next question. A perfectly competitive firm is preferred to a monopoly because the perfect competitor, in a perfect competitive market, we have more than enough suppliers competing in the market. All right? Why a monopoly is just one person, one sole seller of that particular product or supplier of that product. So for a perfect competitor, why did he think people prefer perfect competitor to a monopoly? Why? You know the implication of when a monopoly is only one supplying a product. You know what it's going to do with that product, particularly with price. It's going to maximize its price and also getting what? Abnormal profits. Let's go. The perfect competitor produces more output than monopolies. Of course. Why? Because there are more competitions on that line. So more productivity will come. Yes. Yes. B. The perfect competitor charges less price than monopolies. Yes. Why? Because the competitor produces more. So they charge less. Why? As they produce more, they enjoy what they call large-scale production of outputs. Okay? So their cost of production is lesser, so they charge less. C. The perfect competitor makes less profit than monopolies. Well, let's see how it goes. D. The perfect competitors improves welfare more than monopolies. Okay? If you ask me, the best alternative answer for this question is D. And somebody will say, why did I choose D? He said it improves welfare. How? One, produce more output. Okay? Charge less price. Okay? So A and B is positive, going for perfect competitor. And being positive, if they produce more, there are more goods to be enjoyed by the populace, by the citizen. If they charge less, it encourages the purchasing power of the citizens to buy more, to consume more of the product, and to enjoy a better life. So it's improving the welfare of the people than the monopolies. Monopolies will produce less, and monopolies will charge higher price. And with higher price, people cannot enjoy the product, and because of limited supply of the product, it will be scarce. So the most correct answer here is option D. Let's see the next question. The liquidity preference hypothesis was introduced by Adam Smith, Alfred Marshall, David Ricardo, John Maynard Keynes, J.M. Keynes. Now, you know, these two are popular when you talk about the definition of economists. In fact, Adam Smith is said to be the father of economists, all right? Marshall also gave us his own definition, similar to that of Adam Smith of economists, all right? Now, David Ricardo was talking about the law of a comparative advantage. Comparative advantage. That is what his own, philosophy, his own policy that he brought in economics, economic principle that he brought, comparative advantage. So it was Keynes that talked about liquidity preference. The option here is option D, John Maynard Keynes. Okay, let's see the next question. An increase in national income is likely to A, decrease exports, decrease savings, decrease investment, increase imports. Now, when we earn more, national income is we are earning. When we earn more, there's tendency for us to consume more. All right? And in consuming more, it means we are going to import more. Those goods that we are not able to produce. So the higher the national income, of course, there's possibility for increase in imports. So let me choose option D for this particular question. Let's see the next one. Okay. Which of the following is the major source of government revenue in Nigeria? You and I know the first thing that will come to your mind is crude oil. But you know, it's not just crude oil of sales, we also have what they call royalties. Because this crude oil are not being processed by us, but by foreigners, the likes of Ajib, M.Boye, Oil, and the rest of them. Ohando, they are all foreign companies, right? But they pay us royalties. Royalties is a form of what? Tax, which form income for us, right? For operating and dealing with our crude oil, they pay us all this. So let's see now. Fines, foreign grants, loans. Of course, we collect loan now. Particularly this particular government has been collecting loan like mad, okay, every year. But notwithstanding, the major source of income for Nigeria is tax. In fact, the current Minister of Finance said that Nigeria has made close to 2.something trillions in tax. Naira. I think billions in naira that they have made from tax. This tax involves royalties on this crude oil. It involves direct and indirect taxes on people like us and the rest of them. So taxes is a major source of income for the government in Nigeria. Option D. Let's go on. Optimum population is attained when A, population is greater than resources, POP greater than resources and technology. B, population is less than resources. A and B is opposites. Okay? Population matches natural resources and technology. Population is greater than natural resources and technology. I think option A and D is tautology, it's repetition. So A and D is cancelled on that basis, right? So we have B and C. Now, when it's lesser, it says under population. Okay? Now, when it matches equilibrium, we call it optimum population. So the correct option for this question is option C. Option C. All right? Which of the following types of unemployment is caused by changes in technology? Technology. When I say technology, in other words, maybe we're moving from labor intensive, we're moving to what? Capital intensive. Remember, in labor intensive is use of hands, manual labor. While capital intensive use of what? Machines. As is happening right now, AI is here all over, computer cities taking over everywhere. You know, so less humans are needed. Machine can do the work of 5 people. So less number of people are needed in an office. So what kind of unemployment is this? Is it frictional? Is it structural? Is it cyclical or seasonal? For me, I think it's structural unemployment. Why? We've changed the structure of our productivity from labor intensive to capital intensive. Use of technology has changed the structure of productivity. So it's structural unemployment. All right? Option B is the correct option for this question. I hope you're enjoying this session. Please subscribe to this channel and like. Thank you. Now, the next question. The following are negative effects of inflation. The negative effect of inflation, except one, which means all of them are negative effects, only one that could be said to be positive. Okay? Or the other way. Let's see. Increase in real income. Real income is your disposable income. What actually is available for you to spend. Okay? Is it negative or positive? Let's see. Discouragement in lending. During inflation, people don't like to lend. Do you know why? When you borrow somebody 2 million now, by the time we pay you back in 6 months or in 1 year's time, this 2 million, what it can buy in 2 years' time can no longer buy it again. So people are discouraged from lending people money. All right? So that's a negative effect. Borrowers gain, of course. Whoever you borrow money, get the money now and use the money now for whatever they desire to use it for. So it's positive to them, it's good for them, of course. Okay? Borrowers gain. Value of imports may increase during inflation. The value of import may increase. We tend to import more when there is inflation. All right? Inflation, remember, means when there's high prices of goods and services. All right? So which of them is actually not part of this set? Which one is not negative? Borrowers gain. Is positive for the borrowers. Because it gains. But to the lender, it's negative. That's why the lender refuses to give his money. Because when he gives his money, the borrowers will gain. All right? So I think for me, if you ask me, since it has to do with increase in goods price of goods and services, even when your income increase, it might not be able to match the rate of inflation. Okay? So the value of imports may increase. And the more you are buying, the more you are destroying your inflation. You are destroying your economy. Because in buying, import means you are buying. As you are buying, more foreign exchange is going out to those countries. They are all positive. But for you, it's negative. All right? So I think the borrowers gain in this place is good for the borrowers. It's positive for the borrower. I think for me, I will pick option C for now. Okay, on this. Because buying more is also killing the economy, right? And your real income may not be able to meet up with the inflation rate that's going on. And this person is negative to him. So option C, let's go. Let's see the next question. Aggregate demand. The word aggregate means total demand. Aggregate demand called shift to the left. Okay, shift to the left. This is demand curve. Let's assume this is original demand curve, DODO. Okay, when it shifts, remember we said when you talk about shift in demand, it is not caused by price because price don't change. It is caused by other factors like taste, like fashion, and what have you. Okay, so when there's a shift to the left means a backward shift in demand. That represents a decrease in quantity demanded. A decrease in quantity demanded for left shift. If it's right shift, it is what? An increase in quantity demanded because you see it like this. Okay, if it's like this one, this is D2. So this is DO, quantity DO, this quantity what? 1, this quantity 2. So rightward shift or forward shift is positive, leftward or backward shift is negative. All right, decrease in quantity demand. So when there are income tax cuts, fall in interest rates, increase in domestic inflation, discovery of new resources. When there's inflation, increase in price, what happens? Just like the previous question we answered now, the demand of the people will reduce. The demand of the people will reduce. Okay, so C, increase in domestic inflation. When there's increase in domestic inflation, the demand will fall. See the next question. Which of the following falls with increase in real income? MPC, MPS, MPC. What's the meaning of this? MPC means marginal propensity to consume. MPS means marginal propensity to save, right? So MPC minus MPS, MPS minus MPC, just an opposite. MPS, MPC. So which of the following falls with increase in income? Which of the following falls with increase in income? marginal propensity to consume, right? The rate of additional consumption, that's what we mean by what MPC, marginal propensity to consume, right? Which of the following false? You see, the answer is MPC anyway, right? Marginal propensity to consume. 21, option C. Let's go. The next question. The purchase of government bonds from the public in the open market by Central Bank of Nigeria will. Now, when there is less supply of money in circulation, that is deflation, Central Bank has a way of coming in to resolve that situation. How? By coming to the open market to buy. As Central Bank is buying, she's releasing money, or it is releasing money into circulation in the economy. So let's see how it goes. It increases supply of money, it increases interest rate, it increases discount rate, it decreases reserve requirement. As Central Bank is buying, it's releasing money to circulation. So it's increased the supply of money. Option A is the correct answer. Next question. Which of the following equations describes an open economy? This is typical of national income. Okay? The word Y. Y means income, national income. C is consumption. I is investment. G is government expenditure. S is import. S is export, while M is what? Import. So when you look at these four equations, the most balanced equation is option B, where we have income, consumption, investment, government expenditure, and the difference between what? Export and import. And you and I know that it is better for export to be greater than import, for us to have what? Favorable balance of payment and balance of trade. If it is lesser, that's unfavorable for us. So, option B is the most correct answer. Best equation for open economy. The next question. International trade is different from internal trade. You know, when it's international trade, trade between two or more countries, trade across borders. And when we say internal trade, we're talking about trade within. Trade within. So, international trade is different from internal trade because of A, manufactured goods involved, currency differential, homogeneity of prices, heterogeneity of prices. The most correct answer for this question is currency differential. Because when you engage in international trade, you exchange currencies, right? Particularly, there's a medium of international trade, which is dollar. Dollar is the most common currency used for international trade, okay? Except it is specified by the partnering nation. If it's European countries, they have their own euro that is spent. But commonly in Africa, most of the time, the medium of exchange in international market is what is dollar. All right? So currency differential. But if it's internal trade, these local currency are being put to use. Option B is the most correct answer. Let's see the next one. As income level increases from 500 to 1,000, consumption increases from 700 to 1,000, the marginal propensity to consume. The marginal propensity to consume equals to change in income, or change in consumption over change in income. Yes, change in consumption over change in income. Because I'm talking about propensity to consume. Okay? So let's look at it together. Change in consumption. What is the consumption? 700 minus 1,000. What is income? 1,000 minus 500. So what do you have now? We have 300 over 500. Okay? This goes. How many 5 goes in 3? 0. Then when you add 0, how many 5? You put decimal point here. How many 5 goes in 36? So answer is 0.6. That is option C, 0.6. Let's see the next question. One reason for requiring commercial banks to maintain balances with Central Bank of Nigeria is that these balances, there's a law in Nigeria where they have cash reserve ratio. The commercial bank has cash reserve with the central banks. Okay? Why is this done? A, to provide the maximum amount of reserves a bank will ever need in operation for banks. B, give the Central Bank of Nigeria more control over the money creating operation of the banks. C, ensure that banks do not make excessive profit in the operation. D, assist the Treasury in refinancing government debt for banking operation. The correct answer here is B. The CBN, Central Bank, is trying to control the creation of money by the commercial banks. If more of the money are with Central Bank, they have less in their hand to dispose to the people. All right? So the correct answer is option B. Let's see the next question. The balance of payment is also known as A, balance of credit, balance of international payment, balance of goods and services, balance of deficit. The correct answer is direct and simple, is balance of international payment. Because balance of payment is talking about difference between the export and import, which is international trade. Difference between what you can buy and what you can sell. Balance of international payment. Option B. The next question. The money whose face value is equal to intrinsic value. What is intrinsic value? We're talking about what it can buy. We have face value. We also have what money can buy. Okay? If the face value is also equal to what it can buy, the value in the market, what do you call that kind of money? Credit money, paper money, standard money, token money. The correct answer is standard money. Another name for standard money is commodity money. Commodity money. What is a commodity money? Gold, silver, and what have you. All these very expensive items, they are called standard or commodity money. So, C is the correct option. 29. Balance of payment deficit account may be financed by the following except. Balance of payment. I mentioned deficit earlier when I was explaining this balance of payment. The deficit arises because you import more than export. You are paying more than what you are receiving. Your payments greater than your receipts. That's when you have deficit, okay? And when you have the opposite, we have surplus, okay? And when they are equal, we have balance of payment, all right? So how would this happen? What will make this to happen, okay? All this will make deficit to happen except one. Let's see. Selling investment overseas. In other words, when you have the deficit, how do you manage it? When you have the problem of deficit in your balance of payment, how do you manage it? How do you solve this problem? Okay? Selling investment overseas, decreasing the asset of foreigners, borrowing from foreign government, using country's reserve. I can answer this question because this is happening in Nigeria right away. Okay? Both Buhari government and Tinubu current government, they are applying this to solve Nigerian problems. Yes? They are selling our overseas investment. They use our foreign reserve also to settle our debts, okay, to reduce deficit. They are also continue borrowing from foreign governments and also for IMF, International Monetary Fund, and also from IBRD, the World Bank, okay? But the option B is wrong. You can't decrease the asset of foreigners. It has no business or basis with your own deficit. So option B is not part of what you need to use to resolve your deficit. B is the correct answer. The next question, which is likely going to be our last question for this session, is the level of economic development is low in Nigeria because. Why do you think the development level of Nigeria is low? Why? It is a very simple logic that an average economist can answer. A, planning has no practical relevance. B, because of the pattern of consumer spending. C, because the country is overpopulated. I disagree with anyone at any time that Nigeria is overpopulated. Why? We are so blessed with abundance of natural resources. There are so many natural resources we have not even tapped at all. There are some that have been tapped by individuals like gold. in the northern area, being tapped by individuals for their own personal use and for selling to wrong people, foreigners. D, because of ineffective plan implementation. If you ask me sincerely yours, I will tell you the major challenge in Nigeria today is implementation. Nigeria can design very wonderful, very fantastic plan for economic growth, plan for economic development. But the problem with us is implementation. This plan, as fantastic as they are not being implemented. And if they're implemented, are partially implemented or implemented in a wrong way. So by so doing, we don't get the benefit thereof. So the correct answer for this question is D, ineffective plan implementation. With this question, we have come to the end of this session. Please subscribe to this channel and like the channel. And if you have any further questions, you can send to us. We will attend to them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm sure you enjoyed the content you just watched. To see more episodes as that, preparing you for your oncoming exams, smash the subscribe button on this channel right now and visit the playlist that we've made for you, covering over 50 type of different exams, including JAMB, WAEC, Kakao,